Boris Johnson announces a change in social distancing. It's the 72nd anniversary of the Windrush today. Kirsten Stewart will play a new Princess Diana in the latest movie, and will Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, cut VAT? All this and more on The Voice of London. Hello and welcome to the latest Voice of London with me, Ian Pelham Turner, on ALB UK Television and positivebritain.co.uk. Well, it looks like another very busy news week this week. First of all, a lot of decisions are being made over the past few days on what is going to be the future of lockdown. Will it continue, and especially on social distancing? It is expected to change from 2 meters to 1 meter to allow the hospitality industry to actually find a way forward of coming out of lockdown itself. So the measurement itself is expected to mean that instead of 1/3 of a pub's space being used on a 2 meter rule or 6 foot rule as it is at the moment, then the reality is that if it goes down to a 1 meter or 3 feet rule, then it will be 2/3 capacity instead, making hospitality, making restaurants, making hotels and bars and pubs much more viable to actually bounce back from this lockdown situation. And the pub industry itself is looking at all of this. Apparently there are going to be different stipulations. From now on, if you enter a public house, you may have to order up front. You're only going to be given 2 hours. It is expected to have drinks inside the pub. And at the doorway, you will be expected to give your name and your mobile number. In case anybody catches the virus on the particular day when you're visiting, then the test, track and tracing will then come forward and actually come back to you to actually isolate for yourself. So this could be a very good means forward. The reality at the moment is that the hospitality industry, the tourism industry, are really on the ground level, and they're trying to raise up again from a period when they've had no income coming at all. A lot of these organisations have probably lost 1/3 to half their annual income. So the reality of relaxing social distancing could be a way forward. Some people are for it, some people are against it. A lot of the politicians, especially the MPs who have got constituencies crying out to open up business again, are saying, please allow this to happen. But some members of SAGE, which is one of the groups that actually advises the government from the scientist point of view, and there's an independent SAGE group as well, is saying this may be too early. Now, the reality, if you look at Germany at the moment, Germany has actually done this system, gone to 1 meter, and now they've had a second spike. So the government is very worried at the same time. If they create a second spike that really starts sweeping the country, then our economy is in absolute dire trouble. So for Boris Johnson, this is a political decision, one of the decisions that may make his historical career and his legacy at the same time. So we move on from Boris Johnson and we go to Marcus Rashford. Now, Marcus Rashford is a young 22-year-old football player, very, very well known already, has got a huge following himself. Very, very talented, is now an England football player as well. And the biggest thing that Marcus has actually helped to do in the past few weeks now, since setting up an organisation to support children of disadvantage, is he's now helped to create 3 million meals. 3 million meals now and during the summer months for disadvantaged children. So we look at things like Black Lives Matter at the moment, and he is a prime example of how someone with colour has actually really supported and helped all children in Britain, irrespective of colour. So I personally feel at the moment he should really get some sort of an award for all that he is doing for this at the moment. He's a tremendous person and someone who can really be respected for doing something over and above his football career. But why has he done it? He has done it because he was a disadvantaged child himself, and he remembers at first hand how it was to go hungry. So now he's used his wealth and he's used his talent and he's used his personality status to actually support young disadvantaged children. So I applaud him totally for this. And now we move from that story. It's the second, or the 72nd, I should say, anniversary of Windrush today. And first of all, the Prince of Wales has just recorded a video talking about this. So let's listen to that first.
Ladies and gentlemen, the men and women who stepped off the Empire Windrush at Tilbury in June 1948, just a few months before I was born, had left behind all that was familiar to them in order to strive for opportunity in a land they barely knew. Many of them had served with distinction in the British Armed Forces during the Second World War, just as their fathers and grandfathers had in the First World War. Now they came to lend their hard work and skill to a country rebuilding in peacetime, and to forge a better future for themselves and their families. They could hardly have imagined how they and those that followed them would make such a profound and permanent contribution to British life. Today offers an opportunity to express the debt of gratitude we owe to that first Windrush generation for accepting the invitation to come to Britain, and above all to recognise the immeasurable difference that they, their children and their grandchildren have made to so many aspects of our public life, to our culture and to every sector of our economy. Now, I hesitate to single out any area of this activity, but as coronavirus lockdown begins to ease, I did just want to say a particular word about our National Health Service, of which people of African and Caribbean descent have been an indispensable part since its very beginning. Amidst this public health crisis that continues to confront us all, I would like to pay tribute to the doctors, nurses, and everyone working in our hospitals, as well as those in every kind of critical role on the front line of this epidemic, including on our public transport system. At the same time, I know that the black community has been hit particularly hard by this pernicious virus. To those who have lost their loved ones in such heartbreaking circumstances, when it has been impossible for them to comfort their relatives in hospital, I can only convey my most profound sympathy. And to everyone on the front line who has been put under such intense pressure over the last 3 months and risen heroically to the unprecedented challenge, I want to say on behalf of all of us how inordinately proud we are of them and the way they carry out their onerous duties. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 years ago, my wife and I were invited to visit the Black Cultural Archives in Brixton, an inspiring place dedicated to collecting, preserving, and celebrating the histories of African and Caribbean people in Britain. It offers a compelling reminder that our society is woven from diverse threads, drawn from so many parts of the world, which strengthen and enrich the fabric of our national life, as well as the remarkable tapestry of the Commonwealth. recognizing the rich diversity of cultures which make this country so special and in many ways unique, lies at the heart of what we can be as a nation. Each thread comprises individual human stories of courage and sacrifice, ingenuity, determination, and remarkable strength of character. It is vital, it seems to me, that the full range of these stories is heard and valued. We can only understand who we are as a nation, where we have come from, and what future path we should take if we are able to look at the past, present, and future from each other's perspectives.
At a time when Black Lives Matter is really brought to the forefront again, it is very important to remember the Windrush situation as well. Much of it has still not been resolved. Many of the Windrush people who came to Britain given a British passport and then were told later that they weren't British and then taken back to the Caribbean. And many couldn't even get a job or any health issues at all. It caused tremendous problems. Now for me, when I look at the Caribbean community and the black community in general, look how much Marcus Rashford has added just in the past few weeks. So they are to be applauded at the same time. And I'm pleased that ALB UK Television is able to highlight the Windrush affair alongside the Prince of Wales at the same time. Now we move from one piece of royalty to another piece of royalty. The actress Kristen Stewart is going to play Princess Diana in a new film. Now, Kristen Stewart, I know very little about, but obviously being a former commissioned royal photographer and working quite a lot with Princess Diana, I know and saw the type of agonies that she went through at times at first hand. And the problem these days is that I hope the recognition of her work and her time still grows. There is still a Diana organisation that actually helps to support different charities. And I think for me, when I've looked at Meghan, the Duchess, the reality with that is that I think she was the new Diana in reality. She was the new people's princess. And I hope one day they find a method of bringing her back and Prince Harry to Britain at the same time. But this film is really being shot at Sandringham at a time when Princess Diana realizes that her marriage is not working at all. And there's all sorts of allegations that was going on at that time as well. So I look at the Prince of Wales today, and I think in some ways he may have been pushed these days into marrying Diana, which is a crazy thing to say. And I think the Duchess of Cornwall now has made his life happy once more. But when I look at things as they were, I still thoroughly believe that Princess Diana died before her time, that's for certain. And gradually she was building up a global role for herself that really was something that created value for the charities that she supported right across the world. And finally today, we come back to politics again. And Rishi Sunak, who is the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and it is apparently, allegedly, there's all sorts of rumours floating at the moment, as there will be at a time like this, that after the July, he may cut VAT in Britain. It could be from 20% to 17.5% to actually stimulate the economy again, because it's going to need some stimulation, that's for certain. I think the problem at the moment in Britain is the government created such a fear factor during February and March for people to stay at home and not to suffer the virus, in other words, to self-isolate, Now self-isolation has almost become a routine. And will people come out and spend again? In order to get Britain back working again, I think it's a very, very hard thing to do. So Rishi Sunak has got major problems. He's borrowing huge amounts of money for the British economy just to keep us stabilised. According to the Bank of England head, he said that we almost went under during this crisis as well. So if it hadn't been for the Bank of England financial stimulation, we could have found ourselves in tremendous trouble. I want to see Britain win. I want to see Albania win as well, and I want Albanians to be a tremendous part of actually supporting the economy of Britain as they come back to work. The values that Albanians have, I think, are the types of values that are necessary to help create success stories again. So that's me for today, Ian Pelham Turner from the Voice of London on ALB UK television and positivebritain.co.uk. It's hot out here in London town. We're expected to be even hotter than the Bahamas this week. So I wish you well. I hope you have a great afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.